So, James. Good.
Just a reminder, we're going to have the Sheridan Housing Authority meeting coming up in the work session, so make sure you log on to your meeting software.
Good evening, everybody. All right, sorry I have to be remote tonight. Can we start with an introduction from our interpreter?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrea. I'm here with the Community Language Cooperative. We're going to be practicing language justice today, and we're going to provide simultaneous interpretation in English and in Spanish so that everybody can hear and speak in the language of their heart or how they feel more comfortable. Once we turn on the interpretation, if you're on Zoom, you're going to see a globe at the bottom of your screen where you're going to be able to select your preferred language. If you're on your phone or tablet, you're going to see 3 little dots or where it says more, and there you'll find the interpretation feature. Please remember to speak at a conversational pace, remain muted when you're not speaking, and speak close to your microphone when it's your turn to speak. For the presenters, please remember to stretch your words when you're speaking. Spanish is 25% longer than English. It will take me 25% longer to repeat everything that you're saying in English into the other language. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Andrea, estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative. Hoy vamos a practicar la justicia del lenguaje y tendremos interpretación simultánea en inglés y en español para que todos puedan hablar y escuchar en el idioma de su corazón o como se sientan más cómodos. Una vez que aprendamos la interpretación, si están en Zoom, ustedes van a ver un globo que va a aparecer en la parte inferior de su pantalla, o si están en su teléfono o tableta van a ver 3 punticos donde dice más y ahí van a poder encontrar la interpretación. Recuerden mantenerse en silencio cuando no estén hablando y hablar un paso conversacional cuando sea su turno de hablar. And we can begin interpretation now.
Thank you, Andrea. I'll call to order this regular meeting of the Sheridan Housing Authority for April 8th, 2024. The time is 6:02 p.m. Can we have everyone sign in on our meeting software, please? It looks like we have everyone present. First item we have tonight is our Housing Authority, and we'll start with the minutes. The presentation and approval of the minutes. I have a motion from Board Member Kelly, a second by Board Member Moreno. Any discussion or questions on the minutes? Please cast your votes. And that motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have the financial reports. Presentation and approval of the financial reports.
Yes, my name is Ron Snodgrass with the Inglewood Housing Authority, and I'll be presenting the financial reports for the Sheridan Voucher Program and the general fund with the city. The general fund's cash positions are in their operating account is about $32,000. In the general fund's savings account at Colorado Trust, there's $53,000. And then in the savings account with First Bank, their general fund money at First Bank is about $2,500. The general fund has only had interest income so far this year, and normally they only receive interest income on their cash balances. So for the month, that was $231,000, not 200, yeah, $231, not thousand. Yeah, that'd be some, well, interest rates are going up. For the year, it's $487 for the year in interest for the general fund. Moving on to the voucher programs financials. We have in the operating account about 43,000. We have HAP, which is restricted money from HUD at about $800. We have fraud, which is basically a receivable from the voucher holders of about 3,500. That's short term, and about another 3,500 that's long term. We also are in the midst of our audit right now. So we paid our first audit bill, recorded that in February, but cut the check in March. So that's why the AP voucher contractors are a negative 13,000. We have about 4 months worth of management fees that are due to Inglewood Housing Authority from Sheridan, which is basically the 47,000 accounts payable to Inglewood Housing Authority. And then moving on to the income statement, we got some extra, or the housing authority, the Sheridan Housing Authority got some extra admin money because of the fourth quarter reconciliation by HUD, which was about an extra $1,600. So that's why the admin money or revenue is up to about 14,000 for February. The expenses are staying about the same. We have about $11,000 or $12,000 worth of expenses for the voucher program. So that's pretty consistent. And then moving on to the Inglewood's management of the Sheridan voucher program, we had about 11,000 in revenue and about another 14,000 in expenses. It's very normal for the management of the Sheridan voucher program by Inglewood to basically be less than the revenue to be less than the expenses. That's very normal. So basically, like I said, we're in the midst of doing the Sheridan voucher program audit. We're expecting the preliminary audit results this week, basically. So they've done all their on-site due diligence. And so we're just waiting for the preliminary report so I can write my report for the audit. And that's looking really good. The audit's looking really good. So I'm not expecting any problems. And then we also are working with HUD to do our RMP reconciliation. At the end of the year, HUD owed us about 31,000, or owed the Sheridan voucher program about 31,000. And that stayed consistent through the first 2 months of the year. So they owe us right now about 30,000. So we're in the process of doing our reconciliation with them so that we can have our records match their records. And we do that about once every couple years. We do a full reconciliation with them. So we should be getting some additional funding for the Sheridan voucher program of about 30,000 in March. So that's about all I had. As an overview, are there any questions?
I don't see any hands up. Okay, nobody has questions. I have a motion from Board Member Camacho and a second by Board Member Stang. Anybody have any further discussion on this before we vote? Seeing none, please vote. That motion is approved unanimously. And next tonight we have the program reports, presentation and approval.
Hi, I'm Kim Kerr. I'm the administrative manager. Our executive director, Lindsay Grozowski-Hosky, was not available tonight, so I get to sub in. I don't know if that's good or bad, but as far as the program reports, our vouchers, right now we have 149 vouchers leased up, another 12 that are port outs so for a total of 161. Our HAP expense is a little over 100%. We're okay with that because we've got some reserves, so that's not a problem. The only thing that there is a correction on this report is our number of people on our wait list. We closed our wait list December 31st, so it's actually at 0, or was at 0. We did a lottery in January, so now we have more people on the wait list. That's basically my program report. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that.
I don't see any hands up. Anybody there have questions? No? Okay, I have a motion from Board Member Stang and a second by Board Member Camacho. There are no other questions. We can have a vote on that. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have the manager's report, presentation and approval.
Okay, so like I said, the lottery ended from last year. It ended December 31st. We opened it up on January 22nd for 2 days. It was an online only application. We ended up with 978 applications for Sheridan Housing Authority. This lottery will go for 2 years, so it will end on December 31st of 2025. We have already pulled 20 applicants off of that list, and we're in the process now of them going, they have to go online, fill out their application, submit their cooperating documents, and so we're working on that process right now. I think we've had around 6 or 7 people that have already submitted their applications and their documentation. So that's great. It's nice to have a brand new list. The Next Step 2 grant, this is a grant that we have with Englewood School District and Sheridan School District to work on helping to rehouse families that are in danger of homelessness. And so far, we have helped 17 families in our first year of the grant. It's a 2-year grant. We were planning to get 21, so we're pretty good. We're right on schedule, right in budget. We have a brand new grant that we are doing. We're partnering with Integrated Family Community Services. Similar kind of thing, is just not necessarily towards schools and children. It's people or families that need assistance in the community. They basically vet them, and then we have the funds to be able to help them. As far as our developments, we're in the process of trying to finish up King Street and get that submitted for permits. We're trying to get some pricing on modular units and some different ideas or places to go for our construction loan for that property. The Oxford development, those properties are at Elliott and Decatur. We applied for Prop 123 the first time around, didn't get anything, so we're going to try again. We've done an environmental review. They didn't find anything toxic that we have to worry about in there, so that was really good news. And that's pretty much that for the management report. Any questions? Oh, you guys are making it easy. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
We're usually pretty easy. Yeah, I don't see any questions, so I have a motion from Board Member Whitaker and a second by Board Member Kelly. We can vote on that. Motion is approved unanimously. We
Thank
don't
you.
have any unfinished business or new business, but I'd like to thank both Ron and Kim for being there, and sorry I couldn't be there in person to meet you. Okay, we will adjourn the Housing Authority meeting at 6:14 p.m. and return to our regular work session. And our next topic tonight is a co-responder presentation.
Want to hand these?
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
For those of you who I have not met, my name is Allie, and I'm the co-responder here at Sheridan. Today, I'm just going to do a brief overview of the program, what I do on the daily, how things are going, and feel free to ask questions throughout my presentation. You can go next. Thank you. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with co-responders, but basically we are mental health clinicians. We are master's level license holders that specialize in crisis. And I technically work for All Health, and All Health covers Inglewood, Littleton, Sheridan, Greenwood Village, and Glendale. And really the goal of the co-responding program when it started was to, hello? Okay. The goal of the corresponding program is to first and foremost help people within our community, but also prevent unnecessary incarcerations, unnecessary hospitalizations, get people the proper placement, free up police resources so that we can get back to doing the things that the police are experts at, and then also bridge the gap between law enforcement and mental health. My job is split up into, I would say, two different parts. The first part I would say is the actual act of co-responding, which is riding around with police officers and responding to calls. So I respond to every single call that the police respond to. And if it is a mental health call, then I can typically take lead on those. The mental health calls typically are suicidal calls, homicidal, psychosis, grave disability, family disputes. It could look like a lot of different things, but I can also help with other calls as well. And so those could be, dead on arrivals, death notifications, domestic violence, working with victims. So I think you would be surprised how often mental health plays a role in the calls for service that we get. Yeah, I respond to everything. Once we get to a call, the officer will deem that it's safe to get out of the car, and I can conduct formal mental health assessments. I can do de-escalation, initiate mental health holds, initiate emergency commitments, safety plan, basically whatever the needs are, we try and meet them and problem solve for those. We can also find placement if it's emergency, or add them to my caseload, which will bring me to the second part of my job. Next. So these are just some pictures of me out and about doing my thing with the officers. Next. The second part of my job is case management. So once I have an initial call, then I will add them to my caseload. So basically, that means that I will follow up with them, provide support, connect them to resources that they need. And every client looks different, so everyone gets specific care. I also receive secondary referrals for when I'm not here and something happens, or if the officer thinks that someone would benefit from my services, then they will shoot me an email, and then I will follow up with them after the fact. So in addition to that, some ways that we connect with people in the community case management wise is we also do preventative work. So for lack of a better term, if we have a frequent flyer or someone that we get calls for service for pretty often, sometimes going when going and doing an in-person follow-up when they're not in crisis can be really beneficial so that, you know, when they do call again, the relationship and the rapport is already there. So that has been really helpful and beneficial. And usually officers are really open to doing that if we don't have anything pending. And then I also collaborate with other entities within the community. I do a lot of work with the schools. I'll go over there and give second opinions. They'll call me if they have a high acuity case or if they just want a second opinion, pretty much. I'm also part of the district threat assessment team, which gets together weekly and we review different assessments or threat assessments for lethality and kind of try and figure out the best course of action on how to protect the students and the community. So, which will lead me to our next slide. Ways that we reach out to members of our community are typically calling, texting, emailing, in-person follow-up. And so this is something that sets Sheridan apart from all surrounding agencies, is that we have a postcard which we send to follow up, and it's just another way to connect with people. You know, and it is something little, but it is something that the members of the community do appreciate. It's something that not only can brighten their day, but also plant a seed. So if they're not ready to get help today, maybe they will be tomorrow, and they have it all lined up, and it's at least it's there for them. And it's also there for safety. If they put it on their fridge, it has all of our crisis information on it. So if they're in a crisis, they don't have to go digging around looking for the crisis line. It's right there on their fridge and they can call. So we send these out to anyone that has was a mental health call or anyone that's had like a hard day. So that could be death notifications or domestic violence. We'll send those out too. And so that is something new this year that Chief approved and something that we're pretty excited about. Other than that, are there any questions that you guys have for me? Yeah.
So you go along with the police. Do you carry a sidearm? I didn't see.
I do not. I don't carry. The only thing I carry is my vest, my radio. I have a flashlight, a tourniquet, and that's it. So I listen to the officers when they tell me to stay back, wait in the car. I just because they are my protection when we're out there.
Have you had any close calls or times when you were attacked?
No.
Yeah,
I feel like not even close. I've really not felt threatened. Yeah.
Good.
They do a good job keeping me safe.
Do you have backup? Because you're the only one that goes out there. So if you're not available, are there other people that can fill in for you when you're not available?
No, not at this time. So, and that's kind of where the secondary referrals come in. So it is tough when I'm not here and there is a mental health call. Yeah, I will say my hours are Monday to Thursday, noon to 10, which allows me to work on both sides of the week and see all 3 shifts. So I see day, swing, and evenings. So people feel comfortable sending me the referrals and telling me when they have different things that I can follow up with. I think I have some stats if you want to go to the next slide. So this is not Sheridan specific. This is all health. So that's Inglewood, Sheridan, Greenwood Village, Glendale, and Littleton. So these are kind of interesting. You can see most of our calls are welfare checks next to homeless contact. And then you can kind of see spread out like which months are busier season. You can go to the next slide. And I think this is interesting on the top right, that's by incidents by day of the week. And that kind of shocked me because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are the busiest. And Sheridan is consistent with all of these stats as well. So,
And
Yeah, if you have any-
Tuesday, Thursday. Oh,
and you can go to the next one. I think that's all. Okay. So yeah, if you have any questions, I don't have the stats just for Sheridan right now. That is something we could get if you guys are interested in. Are there any other questions?
Ally, do you know if All Health has the capacity, that if we wanted more hours from a co-responder, that they'd be able to add those?
I don't know the process for that, but I would assume so, yeah. Absolutely. And they also have mobile response teams, which I think Sheridan has thought about getting, which it's a little bus that drives around. It has an RN and a case manager, and they can deal with some of the lower acuity calls. So I think there's been some interest with our mobile response unit.
On that day of the week, sorry, was somebody else trying to talk?
No, go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, I was gonna say on the statistics about day of the week, are the other co-responders in those other cities also working like the Monday to Thursday? I'm just wondering if those statistics might be swayed by which days people are working.
The bigger departments, have a corresponder on every day of the week. So, yeah, I know at Sheridan, I am the only co-responder, and that every other city has multiple and case managers. So it could play a little bit of a role, but generally there is someone on at all the other agencies every day of the week.
Mayor, if I might, not just throw in some context for, or maybe some history for some of our council members. We started off a few years ago with this program, and we only had, I think at the time of the first year we did it, we had maybe 20 hours a week budgeted. Maybe it was something like, it wasn't very much. And this is when everybody was getting started with the co-responder program in Arapahoe County. And I think every year since, we've been able to add a little bit more to that. And so we've added consistently to our budget to be able to add more hours as an option. And I'm sure we'll probably look at that again this year and going into next year's budget and seeing what we can possibly do. And then that will get, I think, to some of the mayor's questions as well. To All Health is their capacity, right? So there's a capacity question on there, as well as a money issue on our side. Hopefully, to help out with some of that money aspect will be some opioid settlement monies that will be or at least directed towards the co-responder program. One of the I'm serving on that subcommittee of that countywide committee that is doing the allocation of the opioid settlement monies. And I think phase one of spending on the co-responder program is going to be some assessments that will be taking place to kind of look at and answer some of those capacity questions. And what, I think everybody is on the same page with wanting to spend some more of this opioid settlement money on our co-responder programs. We just don't know exactly which. We didn't want to just throw money at it, right? So there's going to be some assessments done, but then that will be followed up by a phase two with hopefully some additional monies to help places like Sheridan that don't have the budget of the larger municipalities out there be able to maybe add some more hours to our program here. And so hopefully Ally won't be our only one. She'll have some backup and have some help. So that's just a little bit of background and context on where we are, where we've kind of been and where we are. I think this has been a very positive program for Sheridan. I don't want to speak for the chief, but I think we've seen that in a lot of different police departments, and not only here, but across the country where these efforts have been made, a very positive impact on their communities. So I know I'm certainly a supporter of the program. This council, this city has always been as well. So I wanted to ask a couple questions, if you don't mind, Ally.
Of course.
When you talk about the acuity of a call, what does that mean?
When I say high acuity, that means a very intense call.
Okay,
So the lower acuity, the less intense.
okay. So it doesn't have to do with like, or does it have to do with maybe the physicality that's involved with a call, or if there's any injuries or something like that?
I
Or-
think you could take all of that into account.
Okay.
It really just depends. But
Okay,
typically the high acuity is, crisis. Like it could be someone standing on the bridge wanting to jump off. I would consider that a very high acuity
Mhm.
call versus if someone calls wanting a welfare check done on their grandmother that has made some depressive statements.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. And then I have a question with maybe some specifics about Sheridan. What, do you see anything that is particularly challenging here in Sheridan for you in your job? Could it be language barrier? Could it be other things like that? And sorry if I put you on the spot. I didn't mean to. Just in in your experience, what do you find particularly challenging here in the Sheridan area?
I'll have to think on that.
Sure.
Nothing comes to mind right off the bat. I will mention, I do feel like I have a good grasp on the clientele here in the caseload, and I feel very supported by Chief in the department. And I do want to give Chief a shout out just for being, for understanding the importance of this program and being so supportive of not only the program, but of me. And I know without your support, I wouldn't have anyone's support. So I'm very grateful for you. And I feel like I have everything I need to do my job. And I can't really think of something that's specifically challenging to
Mhm.
Sheridan.
Okay. Well,
But
no,
I'll let
fair
you know
enough.
if I do.
Yeah.
I'll fester over
Sure,
it.
sure. No, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. And maybe this is too much and getting into the weeds, and we can have this discussion. Maybe just think about this, that if you were, if you could right now wave your magic wand and say, ideally, this is how much coverage Sheridan should have, whether either be hours per week or personnel or something like that. Do you have a feel for that, or can you think on that if you don't have a feel for that now? Because I'd like to kind of have a feel for that as we go into our budget discussions.
Yeah, I think having one co-responder on every day would be ideal.
Right.
I
And
don't think
you're
we need
Monday
two at the
through
same
Thursday
time.
right now,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Mm.
I think that's all the questions I had, Mayor.
I just had one more.
Yeah.
So
ahead.
does your role reduce the number of people that are being arrested? Is it, do you guys see those numbers go down as a result of what you're doing, or is it the same amount of arrests, but they're less volatile?
From my understanding, it's less. But I don't want to speak on your guys' behalf. And I don't know exactly in Sheridan, but there have been national studies done where numbers have been lowered for the unnecessary incarcerations.
One of the things that I would say is when we, it's tough to measure is because Ally is doing a lot of proactive work. So a lot of the people that would have been in crisis later, that would have maybe done something, committed some type of crime, then we would have had to arrest them, right? It's hard to measure that, but that's what the statistics nationally will show, is that arrests go down for people with mental health conditions because you have co-responders out there helping. So it's not only the situation that we get called to, because that is either there's a crime or there's not, right? But it's those that we prevent with the proactive work that Ally does. And, I have to say that we are extremely lucky, especially with Ally here. We've been very lucky that we've had this program with All Health. But Ally has been a fantastic asset. She fits in with the officers unbelievably well. You have to have a certain sense of humor and certain mindset to work alongside police officers, especially when you're not one. We're just a little different because we see a lot of ugly, is what I like to say. Don't like to say it, but we see a lot of bad things, right? So sometimes our sense of humor can be, somebody go, why would you laugh at that? Or we're laughing because we can't cry. So you need the right people that understand the mindset of a law enforcement officer. And Allie is fantastic. In fact, we've talked to her about seeing if we could pull her over as a police officer, but she hasn't quite wanted to go that direction.
Maybe one
But
day.
But, you know, she just mentioned like the postcard that we have, and that is unique to Sheridan. That's unique to Sheridan because Allie's here. It wasn't my idea. Allie came to me with the idea. And once we talked about and understood what we can do is go above and beyond by reaching out and sending somebody, you know, because the crisis doesn't always end that day or even when we give them services, but to let them know that our police department, thanks to Allie, is thinking about them and offer them help. And she gets sometimes other referrals and calls from that. That's because of Allie. That's what I mean by special. She's thinking above and beyond what she's hired to do. I have never seen her this nervous before. I've never seen her at a loss for words.
Yeah.
She's usually a really smooth operator, but I think it's because she's here speaking to all of you.
Yeah.
But she is really very special, and we're lucky to have her. And thank you for being here, Allie, publicly. I've said it to you in person, but publicly, thank you. You really help our police officers. It helps us the liability for the city because we are doing things proactively instead of having officers forced to deal with mental health conditions that we didn't go to school for. That's the tough thing, right? Mental health conditions, they've rised all across the nation. There's all these issues, there's all these problems, and there wasn't anybody that you can call. So you call the police when you don't have something to do. So we were forced into these. So all of these programs are very, very beneficial, but especially when you have someone that works by your side, like Allie does, in helping us get these things taken care of. As far as additional responder, that is a luxury we definitely would like to have, but Allie said it, but I'm going to make sure we understand when she's not here and we come across something, we always refer it back to Allie and Allie follows up. That's the other part of her, right? So yes, it'd be nice to have somebody right then and there, but right now Allie's even covering throughout the week, maybe not every hour, but she's there. And so with the mobile response team that we might be, we're supposed to be coming online, hopefully. They're still getting that going. It's started in Inglewood and in Littleton. We were the third partner to come on. We're waiting for the okay to move forward with that, which would help us to get some more services to help us and Ellie out. But yes, definitely would we like another co-responder to help? We absolutely would. Of course, we always have to think about budget and the impact that it'll have on the city. So I know city manager's always great when we go with them with things that we absolutely need. We would definitely like one, but I can't go to them yet and say we absolutely need this because we have somebody so great as Ellie. So thank you, Ellie.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And I want to echo those comments and say, this is really cool. Great idea. No,
Welcome.
and this is the kind of stuff that we need to be thinking about and taking approaches that we just don't normally think about, right? It's it's challenging to do outreach in our community, as everybody knows. It's challenging for everybody in government to do outreach, right? And do that. It is. It can be particularly challenging here in Sheridan just because of the nature of our demographic. And I say mostly a lot of that is because we got a lot of renters and we got a lot of transient people. And it doesn't really necessarily the language issue, which is super cool. And she's already addressed here as well. But how do we get involved with, you know, in thinking outside that box? I hate that term, but truly it is what it is. You know, what do we do to kind of promote our programs or to get people involved with it? And this is a great idea. So thank you for that.
I'd like to make one correction, and it's that Allie said that she probably wouldn't have the support from the officers if I didn't give her that. She would win the officers over without me. The officers know that I support her and they know that we have to keep her safe, and that's our #1 priority before we can address the other things. So yeah, she absolutely has my support and the others know it, but the officers, could ask Sergeant Velko there, they absolutely think the world of her and they would buy in on her any day.
And I'd like to ask one more question, kind of procedural. When is it dispatch that makes the decision about when you should respond? Is advising, or how does that whole thing work when or are you just out on are you out on responding just whoever happens to respond? Help me understand how that all works again.
Yeah, so our officers pretty much respond to every single call and I'm usually with one of them.
Right.
They will call me on the radio if for example, the school calls.
Right.
And they should be contacting me through dispatch to go to the school. So that's usually the only time dispatch will specifically request
Okay.
me, but otherwise they just know that I'm there.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
There have been instances where Ally's out with one of the officers and they go out to a call. We get another call and it's more of a high priority to be at the other call and we'll work on transporting her over there.
Mhm.
So that has happened. I know that you didn't think about that, but
Yep.
she's going out. Doesn't matter usually what the call is. She goes out with whichever officer that she's riding with. But if she's needed somewhere else, we'll make sure that we get her transported over to the other place.
I'd like to ask another question. First of all, I just want to say I'm really proud, that Sheridan offers this program. That's why I was asking about, whether we ought to expand it more. And I'm definitely open to that if that's, what's needed. But I just wanted to also ask, so once someone is interacted with you and you're kind of in case management mode with them, are they usually able to get ongoing mental health service if they need it?
Yeah, it totally depends on the client and their needs. Some people are hesitant to get help for whatever reason, but typically, we lead the horse to water, essentially. And most of the time, yes, we are able to get them connected to the resources that they need.
That's good to hear.
I mean, Ally, what would you say your case management load is, average?
It depends because some people I will keep on it for a week or two. Some people I have on it for 6 months, and do that follow up or see them. So right now I would say I probably have 30 people on my caseload currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for your service.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ally. Okay. I guess we'll move on to a review of agenda items. If you have anything you want to cover with us, Devin.
Well, I think, Mayor, we just have one action item on your agenda tonight, and that's approval of a contract for a alley paving project. And I'm going to ask Andrew, if you don't mind, just giving them the really quick summary of the project and why we're doing this. Thank you.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and City Council. Kind of filling in for Randy tonight because it's a paving contract, so obviously more of a public works project. But there's definitely an intersection with planning and some of the development agreements we've been able to collect over the years for this stretch of alley over in the Fort Logan neighborhood. So yes, as Devin mentioned, we have a contract before you this evening. We had a competitive bid process for this contract. We were really happy with the results. We had, I think, 10 bid packets pulled. About half of those came in as a formal bid. And then we actually got a bid. The accepted bid was actually lower than the engineer's estimate. So we were pretty happy with how that turned out. And really what we were looking to do here was instead of have, two different developers go in and try to do their own alleyway improvement, which would have then left a gap in the alley that wasn't going to be paved. What the city did is we kind of took over the management and the contracting for the project so that instead these developers will pay us their individual fees for the public improvement of the alley, but then we'll retain, the engineering, the quality control, and the construction management aspects of the project. So overall, I was just doing the numbers today. The two developments along the block are paying for 80% of the cost of the alley. So the 20% is the cost that the city is putting toward the project. And as I mentioned, that was for a gap that nobody was going to be paving. So I think it's a pretty good deal, both for the city and the two developers. They'll be able to focus on their projects and not have to worry about the specific project. And then timeline, we are looking hopefully to have this all completed by May 1st. Just in kind of looking through Randy's memo. So we feel like that's achievable, of course, pending weather. So we'll see what's in the cards for that. But I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any at this point.
I think the only thing I would add on to Andrew's comments there would be that these improvements to this alley will also address a stormwater issue that we're experiencing over there, especially with the Mountain Crest development. So they came in and paved that parking lot, which previously was gravel, I think, Andrew, maybe. Yeah, and so that obviously is once they put down either concrete or asphalt. I'm not sure what they put down, but it's an impervious surface, which again is going to increase the runoff into that alley. So without making the improvements and paving the alley, we were looking at a pretty messy situation back there, not being able to channel it where we needed to. So it also behooves the city to do this all at one time to address the stormwater issue that would be back there as well. Because if we had kind of one end and this end done, and then the middle would just be a mess, right? If we didn't do that as well. So
Mountain Crest is one of the entities paying for part of it, right?
Yes.
Who's the other one?
That is the redevelopment of the boarding house at the northeast corner. So yes, so both of those developments, they're going to be taking access through the alley. So for Mountain Crest, obviously it's for their like commercial, the renovated like Chevy trucks and things that they're going to be using for their catering business. And then at the northeast end of the alley, all of their parking is going to be accessed off of the alley there. So people will be coming in to access and park in their parking spaces when that development gets going.
Okay,
Anything else?
I don't see any other questions up there.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay, do you want to do a manager's report, Devin?
I'd be happy to, Mayor. And I'll go through this fairly quickly here. Just to let you know, I had a meeting with Fire Chief Desmond Fulton last week. Just kind of check in. He and I try and get together a few times a year just to see how things are going. And he really didn't have any issues in our contract or in how we work together as the two entities. So went very well. They are again, I'm trying to think where I was going with this thought. They were, they're still, I think, very happy with the arrangement that they have with the city that provides them a number of benefits beyond just any type of compensation they receive from our contract. It does a lot for opening up further opportunities for how they serve their district and their service area as well. So that's good. It's mutually beneficial to the two entities involved. So, and it's always good to see Desmond, good guy. Mayor, I didn't know if you were going to talk about the mayor's, managers and commissioners meeting, or if you would want me to do that, or.
Yeah, but you can cover that part. I've got other
Okay.
things.
Okay, we had a mayor's, managers and commissioners meeting. Was it last week or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah. And Cherry Hills Village hosted this time. I had two main takeaways, and then if the mayor, if you want to add anything to this, please feel free. Two main issues that we really spent most of our time discussing. One was that the county is exploring some revenue generating ballot questions. They're looking at either a sales tax or a debrucing type of an effort. I am currently working with their staff to bring them to one of our work sessions in June so they can have a further discussion. They can tell you what their plans and what they're looking at doing and solicit your input as well. They have some information that they're starting to put out to communities. I'll make sure I share that to you guys in some emails here so that if you want to go off and get into the weeds on some of the things that they're talking about doing on these options. They're been busy with one round of surveying, public surveying to try and judge the public's appetite for these two different questions. And they'll have another round as well. And now they're beginning to, again, do outreach to the municipal governments in Arapahoe County to start to judge your feel about this. So again, we'll schedule some time with them, hopefully in June, to have some further discussions. And my feeling is it'll probably go with one of the questions in this November. We'll see. The other discussion was around land use legislation down at the Capitol. A lot was specifically with House Bill 1313, which is the transit-oriented centers bill that's making the rounds down there right now. I think my ultimate takeaway from this is, besides that most people don't like it because it is a imposition on local control, and is not necessarily well thought out at this point, is that I think that pretty much Cherry Hills and Greenwood Village have all but guaranteed there'll be litigation around this if it comes out of the State House. This is the bill 1313 is a bill that comes up with some formulas for increasing density around transit-oriented centers, is what they're calling them, and those are the kind of the obvious ones are the light rail stations and things like that, and then the less obvious are the bus routes that have, I think it was 15-minute service. Was that correct, Andrew? 15-minute service. And then within a certain radius within those transit centers, you would go through a calculation that makes a determination of as to what kind of density you should be placing in those centers. That's going through the process right now. It's fairly unpopular with local governments, I should say. They have also is a provision in it that's extremely unpopular with local governments, that they would withhold highway user tax funds from any municipalities or local governments, and this is not just municipalities, the county governments as well, that would not basically adhere to the provisions of the regulations that they're putting forward. So that's extremely unpopular, that they would hold our tax funds hostage on that. And so that is going through. It'll probably be one of those that will take a while and be a last minute or towards the end of the session, whether it comes out or not, and we'll see. I think that it's going to come out. Me personally, this is just me talking. I think it'll come out in some version or some form, because this is the second time through with it, with the governor's efforts, and I think he's going to try and make sure that something comes out of there. CML is in the process of damage control, I think, on this, with the recognition that there's most likely something's going to come out on this bill as well. But then I think it's all but guaranteed. Almost anything that comes out on this bill is going to be challenged in court. So remains to be seen. Let's see. Mayor, did anything that you wanted to add on the mayor's, managers, and commissioners meeting that I didn't there?
No, thanks.
Okay. We did that. As way of introduction to Scott here in just a second, we have put together, Scott put it together for us, a parking license for the folks to be able that are doing the Bonsai redevelopment project to use the Carroll's Corner Pub project down there for some parking. Parking is at a premium on the site there, and this would be, if my understanding of it is correct, that it would be primarily just for personal vehicles, for contractors, other folks that are working on site, that it won't involve any heavy equipment or anything along those lines. It's more just so that the contractors and folks can have their personal vehicles out of the way. It makes it safer, it makes it cleaner, and reduces the traffic on the site, which is always a good idea as well. We're not charging them. I don't think we're charging them. No, we're not charging them. We're making that benefit available to them. You'll see some activity down there. I think they were already down there, like moving some fences around and things like that to be able to accommodate some of the parking down there. As I mentioned, Scott McHenry is our new member of our group for our city attorney's office. And he and I met an hour ago. And so we're just getting to know each other as well. And obviously this is his first meeting here this evening. And Scott, if you want to say anything, turn the floor over to you. Or
I'm happy to be here and meet everybody. And it's a real pleasure. Look forward to working with all of you.
Welcome.
As you know, Mary Lynn, and I think Mary Lynn's on the line here. I think she's listening. She's driving back from Texas from the eclipse. So hopefully she got a good experience and a good view of that. We went out front here. It was, it was all right. You could tell, right? A little bit today. And somebody had glasses. I don't know who had. Kathy had glasses, so we all got to look at it a little bit. So that was cool. Mayor, I think that's all I've got, but I'm happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Can't see people's faces. You'll have to tell me if anyone looks quizzical.
I'm not seeing any hands or anything right
Okay.
now. So if you want, Mayor, we could take a 5-minute break before the regular.
Yeah, that would be
meeting.
great. I'd love to run and get a cup of tea. So let's adjourn 6:56 and we'll reconvene at 7. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Happy to help or answer any questions. All right, make sure to sign into the meeting software again. And then Madam Mayor, we are ready when you are.
Okay, thank you. Andrea, you want to give your introduction again? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Andrea with the Community Language Cooperative. We're going to be practicing language justice today, and we're going to provide simultaneous interpretation in English and in Spanish so that everybody can speak and hear in the language of their heart or how they feel more comfortable. Once we turn on the interpretation, if you're on Zoom, you're going to see a globe that is going to come up at the bottom of your screen. You're going to click it and select your preferred language. If you're on your phone or tablet, you're going to see 3 little dots where it says more, and you'll find the interpretation feature there. Please remember to speak at a conversational pace and remain muted when you're not speaking. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Andrea, estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative. Vamos a practicar la justicia del lenguaje el día de hoy para que todos puedan hablar y escuchar en el idioma de su corazón, y tendremos interpretación simultánea en inglés y en español. Una vez que aprendamos de interpretación, ustedes van a ver un globo que va a aparecer en la parte inferior de su pantalla si están en Zoom, o si están en su teléfono o tableta van a ver 3 punticos donde dice más, y ahí encontrarán la función de interpretación. Recuerden mantenerse en silencio cuando no estén hablando y hablar un paso conversacional. And we can begin interpretation now.
Thank you. I'll call to order our regular meeting of the Sheridan City Council for April 8th, 2024, and the time is 7:04 p.m. If everyone could please sign in. We have all members present. Can we please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
Precious God, we pray against the schemes of the devil over this meeting, and we pray that you rule over this meeting. We wait upon you, Lord, knowing that you shall renew our strength. We will mount up with wings like eagles. We shall run and not be weary. We shall walk and not be faint. We declare this meeting shall be effective and spirit-led. We declare that we will be blessed by this gathering. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
All right. Do we have the judge present for the swearing in? All right.
Yes, we do.
Paul. Then please proceed with the swearing in of Anthony Lopez.
Perform the duties.
And faithfully perform the duties
Of council member for Ward 1,
of council member for Ward 1,
Sheridan.
the city of Sheridan.
Congratulations, you're in council.
Thank you, sir. Used to work there, I remember you. Took care of the building. Quite a few years. Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Judge, Councilmember Lopez, you can take your seat on the dais. Oh, there you are. And then you have to pass the test of trying to get online in the meeting.
Right on, Anthony. Sorry you had to sit next to Ernie, but
Okay. Well, welcome, Anthony, Councilmember Lopez. Glad to have you.
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on to staff reports. We got the city clerk first. Is she over there?
Yes, I'm back.
I can't see who's where, sorry.
Just a reminder about CML. If you want to go, let me know. That's all I got.
All right, we've got two city attorneys online, but I'm gonna try Mr. McHenry first. Welcome. Do you have anything to share with us?
Nothing to report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if Attorney Maxalka has anything to share. Unless she pops up here, we'll let her keep driving.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just thank you for allowing me to attend remotely. I am thrilled that Scott is there, and I wanted to thank Devin for a lovely introduction for Scott. But yeah, I'm on if you all need anything, although you've got Scott there and he can answer any questions too if you need anything during tonight's meeting. But yeah, thank you.
Thanks, safe travels. All right.
Thank you.
City manager, anything else for us?
Nothing else to report, Mayor, but happy to answer any questions.
All right. Chief?
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the minutes of the regular city council meeting of March 25th, 2024. I have a motion from Councilmember Stang and a second by Councilmember Moreno. Any discussion on the minutes? Please cast your votes. Yes, that passed unanimously, and I've got 7 votes. It's exciting. All right, next we have the consent agenda. Authorized disbursements that have been or will be made from March 16th, 2024 to March 31st, 2024 in the amount of $812,786.66 per the referenced and attached transfer of funds. I have a motion from Councilmember Camacho, seconded by Councilmember Moreno. Any discussion on the consent agenda or questions? Please cast your votes then. That motion is approved unanimously. Next tonight, we have items for individual consideration. We have a resolution 12 of 2024, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan, Colorado, approving a construction agreement between the City of Sheridan and CMH Concrete Pumping, Inc. for the Block 3 alley paving project. I have a motion from Councilmember Whitaker and a second from Councilmember Kelly. Any discussion on Resolution 12? Seeing none, please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have Mayor's Choice. I have a few things. First of all, sorry for being remote. I didn't want to infect you all with some crud, but it looks like we got through it. And sorry, we have to reschedule our photo. I apologize. It's probably inconvenient. I had a couple meetings I attended over the last week and a half or so. First of all, we had a Metro Mayor's Caucus meeting, And we went over some of the legislation. I think Devin kind of caught you up on what's going on with 1313. We also had a presentation from RTD, and they sound like they're also going to put a measure on the ballot this fall. I guess they have some kind of Tabor exemption that's going to sunset next year. And so it looks like they also want to debruce, which is one of the options the county is looking at. So there might be yet another debrucing question on the ballot. And then I also attended the DRCOG work session that same Wednesday, and they talked about the housing assessment that they're working on. And that right now, that assessment says that the metro area needs to build 511 units by 2050, which didn't sound really crazy. And that the greatest need is in the AMI of 60% or less. And they're still completing that total study. The next section is going to be about barriers to getting the housing that we need. And they expect it to be complete by June. And that's all I had to brief you on. I did want to ask if Andrew's still there, if he could give us any background he might have on the federal study that CDOT's doing and how that interacts with the study that we did.
Definitely happy to provide that update. So what CDOT is doing right now, they're doing what they're calling a center median study. So they're looking at the possibility of installing the center median, so the raised concrete median in the middle of the road, from basically Hampton down to Bellevue. So I think it was maybe a Littleton project or a project with Littleton and CDOT along Bellevue that just recently installed some of these medians. So this is a separate study that CDOT was contracted with Stantec for. And we kind of found out about it as we began our Federal Boulevard study. So a really great update, actually. Last Monday, we had a meeting at CDOT headquarters, and it was the first time we were able to get, CDOT, Stantec, our consultant, and all of the city staff kind of in the same room at the same time. So it was a really productive meeting. They're collecting certain data and, working through their process that will help our process. And then similarly, we're doing a lot of public outreach and things that can help to inform some of the recommendations that come out of their study. So just want to remind everybody they are two separate efforts, with CDOT running the center median study, and then we're doing our own Federal Boulevard study currently. They are having a public open house on the 17th about that over at the library, and we have some flyers out in the hall, and we're also working with Amy to put some social media out about that. And I think it was in the newsletter this month, but it is a separate effort.
Yeah, that's good. It seems like it's going to be confusing probably to people.
Yeah, it was when they sent over the information for it. I think it is really good, though, that we're doing our study right now, because CDOT is definitely looking to implement something in the near term, so in the next couple of years. So if we can use our study to kind of tell them what we want, that's really how we want to do this. Otherwise, what we could expect is they're just going to kind of install medians and do what is easiest for them. So I think it's really convenient that we're also working through our study right now.
Yeah, seems like good timing.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. Okay, that's all I had for Mayor's Choice. Do any council members have anything they want to share tonight?
I do.
Councilmember Whitaker.
I just had clicked the button first.
Oh,
If
go
I'm
ahead.
happy to let you go first.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I experienced something this morning that made me really think about my commitment to the safety in the community. And I just wanted to mention it real quick. I have absolute passion and empathy for those in need, and studied homeless people in college. I am very interested in what's going to happen in Sheridan with the unhoused. But this morning, in the pathway of the kids going to school at Sheridan High School and at Fort Logan Northgate, I noticed that someone had set up kind of a tent, kind of a makeshift tent on the sidewalk right in these kids' path. And so, you know, on behalf of my neighbors, I called the non-emergency police dispatch line. They had really great response. They were there within, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, and were able to address this person that had set up camp on the sidewalk in the path of these kids going to school. And I can only assume, because they cuffed this person immediately and took him away, that there was something, you know, maybe not right going on. So I just wanted to let everybody know that, you know, one of the aspects that I ran on 2 years ago was safety in our parks and no overnight camping in our parks. And so I've decided that I really am going to approach the camping on the sidewalks and in the parks with a zero tolerance policy. And my neighbors were very thankful that the police came and rounded this person up. I don't know what they were doing, but it resulted in them, you know, not just being told to move, but being taken away in the police car. And I hope that all of my council members will, you know, address it in the same way, with zero tolerance, especially when it comes to the safety of our kids going to school. And I think it's something that we can do to really continue to make an impact, along with the Tri-Cities Homelessness Initiative, of helping people rather than just putting up with it or just shooing them away.
Thanks for your viewpoint. I've got a request from someone else, but it's not Dallas Hall, which is what it says on my screen. How about Councilmember Moreno?
So I had a conversation with Abigail with Sheridan Rising for Youth, and she would really like to see a youth commission in the city. And I know when I was appointed, that was kind of a big topic. And I guess her thoughts are maybe having a subcommittee of their youth commission be part of our council in some fashion. And I'd like to just see what council's thoughts are on that. And maybe that's a work session topic for the future, but something that I'd like to start kind of gaining some interest.
I think that's a great idea, Councilmember Moreno. And I think you and I might have talked about this, that it would be good to figure out what it is that we most need their input on. And maybe that's something staff can discuss amongst themselves too, like which projects or goals do we have that would be most, it would be most helpful to get a youth voice or opinion on. So yeah, I think having that on a work session would be a great idea.
Perfect.
Anybody else have feedback on that?
I'm Mayor, this is Devin. I was just gonna say, we're happy to schedule some work session time on that. I think prior to that, I would like to be able to sit down with them myself so I can understand. So I'm not going into that meeting just cold, and understand if there's any kind of prep work that we need to do as a staff to get ready for that, or to prepare the council with that. Happy to do it. Just would love to be able to sit down with, was it Abby? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Abigail.
You don't have to know it now, Michael,
Yeah.
but if you can like send me her contact info or something, or do an introductory email, and then maybe I can schedule some time, maybe the three of us could sit.
Yeah, certainly.
Great, thank you.
Awesome, thanks, Devin. Okay, anybody else have anything to bring up tonight? Go ahead, Councilmember Kelly.
I would like to get that clock fixed. That's all I gotta say.
It's right, twice. It's right twice a day.
That's all I want to say.
That's well, it's. I promise you, it's on the list.
How far down on how far down on the
It
list
might be.
are we talking?
It's not at the top, but.
I mean, if you're too busy, I can make the call. I can, get the yellow pages out.
Cool. We will talk about it come budget time.
All right.
Okay. Fair enough? Okay, okay.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay, do we have anyone who has signed up for public comment?
Madam Mayor, we do not have anyone for public comment this evening.
Okay. Then we will adjourn our meeting at 7:22 PM. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.